What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 My Team career mode. Last time out we were at the Dutch Grand Prix, and despite the fact that it rained in qualifying and I really thought I was going to struggle, we not only managed to take pole position, but we also came home with a win as well, so I was very pleased with that result, and I'm hoping we can continue this good run of form in the next race, which will be the Italian Grand Prix. Not a track that typically goes particularly well for me historically, and I've struggled around here quite a lot in previous years, especially last year, where despite the fact that we qualified 5th, we got caught up in some contact in the first corners and had to pit to change our front wing, and after that we couldn't get out of about 17th place. It was a very difficult time. I was really hoping that we'd have been able to make up some positions, but yeah, I just can't race with the AI around here. It seems I can kind of defend, but I think if I don't qualify on pole, I'm going to need some carnage up ahead of me to have any chance of winning the Grand Prix. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It also doesn't help that it's our engine supplier's home race, and yeah, Ferrari are in a fight with us in this championship, technically speaking, so I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe pull a few tricks out as well. I think it will be a very strong weekend for Leclerc and Sainz, and myself and Albon may struggle a little bit more compared to those guys. So yeah, we're going to get into it and see if we can do well. We start out obviously with practice, and it was dry for the majority of the session. I didn't feel like I was particularly slow here. We didn't do any soft compound running. We only did medium running. And yeah, I didn't feel like I was bad necessarily, but I think I'm going to need a lot more pace than I was showing to have any chance of winning. We didn't even finish in the top 14. I think we were like 16th or something like that, if I remember correctly. So yeah, a little bit of work to do perhaps, but on the face of things, not particularly slow. I think we should be able to get through to Q3, no problem. Where we finish in Q3, I think, is going to depend really on the performance of the cars around us. Obviously, there was a bit of a shock result in Zandvoort. Leclerc, Norris and Gasly, who are some of our closest rivals, all got eliminated in Q2, and that kind of put them on the back foot for the rest of the weekend, which meant that myself and Albon were able to capitalise on the fact that there was some less strong, I don't want to say less strong, but people who are perhaps not having as strong a season as those guys up front, and we were able to take the 1-2, which was good. So anyway, we started out in qualifying. Initially we do a 1:18.6, which at the time I do it is the fastest lap. Go faster than Albon and Verstappen there, but I don't think a lot of the guys who are going to do fast times have come out on track just yet. And indeed, you can see that actually as I come around on my second flying lap, I'm down in 19th. So I hope that this improvement that we're doing is going to be enough. We crossed the line, it's a 1:18.3. And that is good enough to put us P14. So we just about sneak through, but actually I think getting through to Q3 may be a slightly harder task than I was anticipating, if that's anything to, go by. Albon, absolutely no problems. He's P1 for the time being. And, yeah, Leclerc up there with him as well. Only shock exit really here is Ricciardo. I know that Joe in a Mercedes you'd think might be a shock exit. What's disappointing for him is that he was 3 thousandths away from making it through. But, that's the nature of Formula 1 sometimes. He was 3 thousandths away, and that was too much. So anyway, we go forward now, and we're on a used set to kick things off. It actually wasn't a great lap. We do a 1:19.1, and I think there's a lot of improvement to be had on a run on a fresh set of tyres. So I hope that we can showcase that pace in our next run. Otherwise, we'll almost certainly be eliminated. You can see we're down in 16th, and actually Albon is in 15th, so he's out of the session. But we improved by 1.1 seconds into the 1:17s. And yeah, that's good enough for a P3, which is a lot better than I was expecting, actually. I didn't think that we had top 3 running pace here, but I guess I was wrong. Hopefully we can convert that into a stronger performance in the next session. But yeah, shock exit for Albon down in P16, terrible result for him. And also Sainz as well in P13. I think Ferrari will be very disappointed with that at their home race. They didn't get both cars in Q3, because that's going to put both of them on the back foot now for the race, especially because apparently it's supposed to be raining in the race. Yeah, very unfortunate for the Ferraris there. I think it's going to be one of them scoring points at best now. They're pretty much putting all their hopes on Leclerc. That was another used run I just did on a 1:18.3, so actually pretty good pace on the used tyres there, which means that there wasn't that much improvement that I could find on my fresh run. We are only going to improve by about 4 tenths or so. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly 4 tenths as we cross the line. It's a 1:17.9 again, But this time it's not quite P3, it's P6. Honestly, I'm not too disappointed with that. This is a track, probably one of the tracks I struggle with the most, apart from something like Monaco or something like that. But then again, I did win at Monaco this season, so maybe that's not the best comparison anymore. But yeah, both Red Bulls upsetting the balance a little bit. Leclerc only managed P5, and in fact, the Italian manufacturer that was highest was AlphaTauri in this scenario. Kevin Magnussen getting a ridiculous P4 in that AlphaTauri. Really solid performance from him. He's definitely having a bit of a career renaissance after his disappointing stint at Haas. Not Haas, it was Aston Martin that he had the disappointing stint at, where he struggled to get into the points for about 3 years. A lot of people thought he might retire after that. I wouldn't have blamed him. I think at this stage he's about 35 or something like that. He's not a young man anymore. No, he's come back to AlphaTauri now and is starting to look pretty goddamn solid in that AlphaTauri. So yeah, maybe he'll stick around for a few more years. No other retirement announcements this season apart from Fernando Alonso, who pretty much retired it as soon as announced it as soon as the summer break was over. He wasn't about to hang around. So yeah, we are going to be starting in P6 in this race, provided there are no penalties. And with wet weather, I think it's going to be harder to improve any further from there. But we'll see if maybe we can gain a few positions when we get into the race.
It's time for the Italian Grand Prix once again, here at the beloved and iconic Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. With the lowest downforce and drag of any circuit in the season, expect to see drivers making the most of the slipstream effect here today. With the rain coming down here at the 3.6-mile Monza circuit, the low drag setups preferred by most teams could cause them some problems in today's Grand Prix. So watch out for cars struggling for grip around the Curva Michele Alboreto. That's the Parabolica to you and me, the last and most demanding of this track's 11 corners. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Pierre Gasly in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Magnussen, Charles Leclerc, Robinson, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman, Stroll, Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz and Ocon, Fittipaldi, Albon, Guan Yu Zhou and Oscar Piastri, Ricciardo, Théo Pourchaire, Lundgaard and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, this is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix, so let's give them a race worth watching.
One set of wets will not be enough to make it to the end. That is what the strategy is suggesting. I think most people will be coming in over the course of this race. It is a pretty high deg circuit, even if we are on the wet compound tyres. So yeah, I think it will be a one-stop race. We currently lead the championship by 29 points over Alex Albon. So yeah, it's a bit of a low-stakes race, all things considered, as I actually accidentally dive up the inside of Leclerc there, give the position back, and everything's all good. But yeah, it's a bit of a low-stakes race because Albon's down in starting in P16. So we just have to try and keep it clean, see if we can score a few points, and try not to get too lost from Leclerc, Norris, and Gasly, because those guys are gonna probably close up to us in points a little bit, I imagine, over the course of this race, if we don't get ahead of them. But anyway, we're now going to get ready to get into the race as the lights come on, And the lights go out as we switch to the replay camera, and I think we actually got away pretty well for how wet it is. I don't usually have particularly good starts in the wet, but on this occasion it wasn't bad. And it looks like I'm battling a little bit with Russell here, who started behind me, and we're going to try and go around the outside of a few cars if we can. You can see Magnussen getting squeezed in between Russell and Leclerc in front of me, and unfortunately there was not really anywhere for me to go. I could have tried to squeeze it around the outside of them at one point, but then we would have ended up 4 wide, and I think it would have been me that lost out in that scenario. Alonso and Schwartzman, I think, are battling just behind me, and yeah, unfortunately Russell having that good start and diving up the inside of both Magnussen and Leclerc, he has moved from P7 into P4, so very good start from him, and we've fallen down the order to P7 from P6, so not a fantastic start for us, but hopefully we can continue to recover in this race and maybe make our way into you know, P6 again, maybe P5, something like that. I wouldn't be too disappointed if we could get double digits worth of points no matter where we finish after that. Anything else is a bonus. You know, I think the top guys would be pretty untouchable here today. Gasly and Verstappen and Norris, all of them, I think will be a little bit difficult to keep up with. I think these cars are just going to pull further and further away as the race gets on, but you know, we'll see. I think Magnussen could be a bit of a saving grace for us here, as actually we're being attacked a little bit by Schwartzman here in the Haas. He's in a really good position right now. Both Haases made it through to Q3. It was a really strong performance from them. Yeah, him and his teammate Mick Schumacher. I was about to say Michael Schumacher, but not quite. And yeah, both of them in Q3. Schwartzman looking like the stronger driver at this stage in the season, I would say, and piling a little bit of pressure on me in that scenario. But now we're right on the back of Leclerc again, and we're going to move forward onto the start of lap 4. Leclerc has got ahead of Magnussen, but only just. And yeah, it's looking like we may have an opportunity to get ahead of Magnussen here. I'm going to go for a long range lunge. In this wet weather, the braking zone is very long, which means if you can time things right, you can maybe go for a move on them. And that was a pretty textbook move as far as everything's considered. You know, I just got on the brakes as late as I could possibly leave it, and made sure I wasn't going to go into the front of Leclerc, or the back of Leclerc I should say. And yeah, we're up into P6 ahead of Magnussen, who unfortunately, after having that really great qualifying performance, has already lost 3 places in this Grand Prix in only a few laps. So yeah, not a great start for him. And fortunately, I think now he's managing to maintain the gap to the guy who moved into his seat behind him. I think it was Schwartzman who took Magnussen's seat when he moved away. Although I'm wrong about that, because it was Schwartzman that took Piastri's seat at Haas when Piastri moved to our team. But anyway, a little bit of battling going on between Russell and Leclerc in front. It's allowing me to keep touch with them. And as projected, Norris and Gasly are a little bit further up the road battling over P2. Norris currently in that position, and Verstappen has completely checked out in the lead of this race. So yeah, the Tifosi not going to be enjoying this race whatsoever. Carlos Sainz still, I think, in P11 or P12 or something like that. So yeah, really not going well for these guys. P5 and P12 or 13 at the moment for Ferrari. And yeah, a little bit of battling between Leclerc and Russell, keeping me in touch with those guys. And we move on now to lap 12 and the start of lap 13. This is going to be my pit lap. So yeah, we'll see if we can have a good in lap. Maybe try and keep these guys honest. The gap behind is over 5 seconds at this point, so really I just need to focus on these cars in front of me. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to overtake in the wet, so no cars that are, you know, faster than us on pace behind someone like a Sainz or an Albon or someone like that. I don't think we're really going to be troubled by those guys, just for the simple fact that the weather is wet and it's really hard to overtake. I don't think Albon has really made up many positions. I think he's still sort of down in P16 or P15 or something like that. We're now into the pits. We're going to be fitting another set of wet compound tyres to the end, and yeah, we'll see if maybe we can close these guys down in the pit stop phase a little bit. Every 10th matters at this stage, especially if Leclerc is going to get held up a little bit by Russell coming out of the pits or something like that. I don't think anyone else is someone we're going to have to worry about, and it definitely looks like we're a little bit closer to Leclerc than we were prior to the pit stop. I think we've caught him by probably a couple seconds by the looks of things. We need to be cognizant of Porsche who's coming past the pit lane now. Obviously he hasn't stopped yet, but he could put a bit of a spanner in the works, so I'm going to see if I can make sure I'm ahead of him. But he's wheel to wheel with Leclerc there, and that meant I had to dive up the inside of both of them. We actually make a bit of contact with Leclerc there, but no damage. And yeah, that was the most accidental overtake I have ever made in my life. I really didn't mean to do that, but we've made our way into net P5 in this race now. So yeah, I guess I'll take it, and I'll apologise to Leclerc after the race for probably scaring the life out of him. So yeah, we now move on to lap 14, start of lap 15. Everyone else that hasn't already stopped is coming in, and that sees us back into P5. Russell over 2 seconds up the road, but we do need to be aware of Charles Leclerc behind us, who is putting a lot of pressure on us, as you'd expect. I think he has got slightly better pace than us in this race. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure from him for probably the remainder of the race, unless he gets past us. But I'm very, very keen to not let that happen. Not only do I want to show that I'm the faster Ferrari-powered car and driver, but I also, you know, want to get this double digits worth of points just to sort of keep my championship challenge on track. You know, we're going to a number of difficult circuits for me coming up, starting with this one. And then Singapore isn't a great one for me. Japan isn't one that typically goes particularly well. I struggle with that one a little bit as well. So it's a difficult run of form for me, and definitely a place where my rivals could close me down a little bit if I'm not careful. So all the points I can get now is going to be absolutely critical. At the moment, it's looking like we're going to be almost 40 points ahead of Albon in the championship. I don't think he's going to be scoring here. So if we can keep that up, then we could be in a really, really strong position. With only a few difficult races for me left to come, I can't shake the feeling that we might wrap this championship up before the final race of the season for a change, especially knowing how strong the final few races for me are. Once we get to Mexico, if I'm leading the championship then, I'm very, very confident that I can win the championship, because there have been multiple seasons where I've completely cleaned house in the final 3 or 4 races. I really like Mexico, I really like Portugal, I really like Brazil, and I really like Abu Dhabi. I go quite well at all of those tracks, and as long as I can get podiums in all of these races, we should be on course for the championship with no real discomfort. No one has really been able to hold a candle to us this whole season. We're still under pressure from Leclerc, but it's not so bad that I can't handle it. You know, he's going for the occasional move up the inside or whatever, but I'm able to hang it around the outside of him in the wet. You know, obviously there's not much grip for anyone at the moment, so it's difficult for him to try and make a move. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable in this race right now. We make a bit of a mistake on the exit of the Parabolica there. I think that's going to allow Leclerc to close us down a tiny bit, but actually not more than he usually closes us down in these straights. I think these cars have a little bit more downforce, or a little less downforce I should say, than we do, so whilst I might be faster through the corners, these guys are faster in sort of the straights and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a tug of war, I guess you could say. And actually Leclerc really going for it this time around the outside, which is going to be the inside on this chicane, and we're going to see who comes out on top. I'm going to try and go around the outside, which switches to the inside on the exit of the chicane, and we managed to hold on to the position for now. So yeah, we've only got about 5 more laps to hold on to this, and then P5 will be ours. I think everything else is just a little too far out of reach. You can see the Gasly and Russell over 5 seconds up the road. Now we're looking at Christian Lundgaard in the Alfa Romeo. It was too good to be true that we could go an entire race without someone retiring. So yes, this is Lundgaard's race coming to an abrupt end, and yeah, he will be retiring, and he will have to try and find a safe place to park to make sure that we can get that track clear and make sure that there's no issues and that the race can keep going. I don't know if there'll be a safety car this late. It's pretty late in the day for one to happen, but there might be, I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And in fact, there actually is, but it must be coming in next lap. So I don't think many cars are going to catch up with this, to be honest with you, because it can only be out until the end of lap 25. That's just how F1 22 works. They will never ever end a race under safety car, at least not at the moment. And yeah, there's no indication that that it's going to stay out any longer than lap 25. So I think, you know, if we're lucky, myself and Leclerc might close up to the train. But apart from that, I don't know if Magnussen and the cars behind him will. So yeah, I think this safety car seems a little bit pointless in my opinion. They always end a race under green flag conditions, and indeed you can see safety car in this lap 25. So we're going to have 2 laps of racing to the end, but maybe this has brought me back in contention for a podium. Perhaps you know how gutsy I like to be on the overtakes on the safety car restart. I always try and gain at least 1 position if I can, and usually I'll go for even more than that. So yeah, we're hounding Russell a little bit, and now we're getting ready to go again. We're going to see which of us has the superior straight line speed here. It looks like I might just be gaining on him a tiny bit, but we're pretty even on the run down to turn 1, and he's defending to the inside. I'm going to try to the outside. We go up around the outside of him, and now that switches to the inside for the following the exit of the chicane, and that has moved us into P4 in this race. And yeah, we've made a net gain of positions on that safety car restart. Russell, I don't think will be too disappointed, even if he does finish 5th, given that he started 7th. I think this is a pretty solid result for him, one way or another. And yeah, maybe we can try and set our sights on getting ahead of Gasly and Norris now as well. They haven't seemed too fast in this race, at least not compared to Verstappen, who has had the race on lock fully for pretty much the entire time. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky, and you can see that they've already broken away by a second, being attacked by Russell a little bit there as well. So I think that maybe the best call at this point would just be to consolidate the 12 points that we're going to get from finishing in P4. And Albon already 20 seconds down. I don't really understand what's happened there. I don't know if he had maybe an issue and had to box at some point or something like that, but man, he has been really underwhelming. It's usually me that is doing what Albon is doing right now. I'm usually the person that has this kind of performance at Monza. So yeah, I don't quite understand what's going on with him. But in any case, we come to the final sector of the final lap now. You can see that Russell is about 7/10 down on me as we come through the Ascari chicane. And I think I'm going to hold on to this, bar any major issues. We have enough battery that we can burn on the run down to the Parabolica, and I think that we've got this pretty comfortably held on to. P4, that safety car really did us a number at the end, because we were able to make up another position on the restart. And yeah, as we come up to the line now, we're going to take P4 in this Italian Grand Prix, and I was not expecting that we would be able to get another position at the end of that race, so I'm very, very happy with that. And yeah, we'll see if we can keep this championship going. We get driver of the day for our troubles, made up 2 positions in the end, and yeah, strong race all round.
So, another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. What do you think it was today, Ants, that gave them the edge over the competition?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Both Red Bulls on the podium there, and also Lando Norris. Norris Gasly will be making a bit of inroads on myself and Albon in the championship, I imagine. Leclerc will also be making up a bit of space on Albon, but I think it will still be me and Albon at the top of the tree. And yeah, I think that was, as far as things go, a pretty successful Italian Grand Prix. I just hope that we can have ones that are always that good going forward.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Robinson increases their championship lead. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Robinson. They pushed and pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
We lead the Drivers' Championship now by 41 points over Alex Albon, and with only, 7 races left to go, I really think that he is basically going to have to be absolutely flawless from this point on, and I would wage to say that with the amount of mechanical failures he's already had in this season, he probably needs to take some penalties at some point. So yeah, I think it might be curtains for his championship challenge. I'm really, you know, pleased that he's managed to sort of push me all this way. He's definitely the teammate who's given me the most grief over the course of my my entire career over the 6 seasons that we've been racing in. But still, it hasn't quite been enough to hold me back. I thought that this season, you know, the first couple races that we had didn't go so well. It wasn't until Imola that I really managed to turn things around with a win. And yeah, up until that point, things were looking very, very poor. So I'm amazed that we've managed to turn this into such a dominant season following that. And I just hope that we can continue to sort of you know, experience the success that we've been experiencing over the course of the season since that point. Obviously, we've had a couple more mechanical failures, and Albon has had some shocking reliability. But yeah, I think in the next season we probably will change engine manufacturers again, especially if there's a regulation change, which part of me thinks that there could be. And yeah, we'll try and go again. Maybe I'll get pushed even harder next time. I don't know. The AI supposedly improves year on year on year, but I think since season 4 it's been staying pretty constant. So yeah, perhaps when I win a few more rivalries, perhaps the AI will be challenging me even more than they've been challenging me at the moment, because eventually we'll get to the point where I can't win all the time. But yeah, that was a very successful Italian Grand Prix compared to how they usually go. Obviously, I have had a podium there once, but that was through more luck than anything else. And next up is Singapore. Not a track I enjoy immensely, but one that I think we have the potential to do at least all right at. And yeah, that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.